morning and welcome to our ROE, School Services, and the Health Department meeting. We'll call the meeting to order. I'll take a roll here. Mr. Lee.
Still there.
Mr. Lee. Are you there? You think he's there, right?
Yeah, he's there.
All right. Joanne. Hi. Mike.
Here, present.
Here. Dave.
Here.
And Doug Stockley, who's not.
No.
Alright. Okay, I'll need a motion to approve or dispense with the previous meeting minutes. Kendra, and second, Joanne.
Sure.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Any citizen comment? Okay, we'll move on to business ROE.
I'll let Julie go first if that's all
Julie,
right.
okay. Health Department's going first.
Sure, I don't really have any significant report or anything, I just felt like it's been a while. I should show my face back up here.
We're happy to see ya.
We did, one significant thing, I think, is that last week, the state of Illinois looks at a set of metrics, and we have gone back into the warning area with our metrics. So they have this map that if you have one or less metrics, you're blue and you're out of warning. And if you have two or more metrics, then you're in the orange warning. And we always have, since probably this time last year, metrics of 50 cases or more out of 100,000 population. So that's a metrics that we always seem to have, and any other metric that would flag or kick in would automatically make that we have two metrics and we're going to the warning. But this last week, we had our ICU bed availability went under 20%. So it's at 18%, and that was a metric that flipped and put us back into the warning. I saw later on too that the state also said that our number of ED visits did increase. I don't think my opinion is, I don't think it increased enough for their metrics, but it flipped that as well. So regardless, we are in the orange. We probably have about 21% of LaSalle County fully vaccinated, which means that they have their 2 doses in. We continue to have our vaccination clinics every Tuesday and Thursday at Illinois Valley Community College. It will depend on the day. Either it's a majority of a first dose clinic with some second doses in there, or it's a majority of a second dose clinic with some first doses in there. So it does kind of flip-flop every month or so. We do have a large clinic coming up for everyone, for all the public 16 and older, this Friday at Illinois Valley Community College. It's at the gymnasium, and we'll start that clinic at 11 in the morning, and it should run till 7 o'clock that night. It's right now, it's by appointment, and it's fairly full. There are still some appointments left in there. We have probably, I think we've gotten close to between 35 and 40 vaccinators for that clinic, so that's pretty awesome. And always looking for non-medical volunteers, if anybody wants to help. But I have polled a majority of the staff. We will have a skeleton crew at the health department, so the health department will remain open, and we'll do the best we can in the office. Other than that, is there any questions?
Do you still do the regular immunizations, MMRs and DTaps? And
We do. We did limit those, however, to Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, just temporarily because of the Tuesday, Thursday clinic. I have so few nurses that a lot of times I have to pull them out to do the clinics on those days. We have, however, went ahead and put about, I think it's about 10 people on the payroll that are just strictly vaccinators. Mostly nurses, a couple of doctors, I think maybe an EMT. So we do have them secured to help us on those days. Some can only work Tuesdays, some can only work Thursdays. We do a Saturday morning clinic at the health department as well, so sometimes we can get them on a Saturday morning as well. So it's just extra help to help us out because we're so limited in our nursing ability at the department. Looking also for more contact tracers.
That's what my question was.
Yeah, we have the ability to hire like 18 full-time equivalents in contact tracers. We're like down to 5. So we are putting out notices, we're receiving applications galore, but we can't, or resumes, we just can't get them to do the extra step of filling out the county application. It kind of ceases there. So I don't know what the deal is on that, but there was a long wait with that grant that ended on May 31st. And it took the state of Illinois a long time to decide that they were going to extend that to December 31st. And so in the meantime, when these people knew that their jobs were coming to an end, we're actively looking elsewhere. And a lot of them did find other jobs that were, probably more fruitful as far as, full-time and benefits and all this. And right now we can only allow those temporary employees to work 29 hours or less a week. So, and that is just because we don't give them any other benefits. So yeah, anybody that's just looking for, it's interesting work. It is tedious, and we do contact tracing Monday through Saturday. I eliminated the Sunday hours, I don't know, about 3-4 weeks ago maybe, but it just got to be a lot, and the staff really needed to start taking some breaks for their family time and stuff. So it's worked out okay. Monday's numbers just reflect 2 days, and it's not really off the charts. So it's just the cases going up now is a bad time not to have contact tracers. So we're trying not to fall too far behind. A lot of school stuff. Can't wait for June. Can't wait for June.
Can
But
you
a
talk
lot of-
about prom and stuff?
What's that?
How your discussions with prom and graduation activities?
Yeah, a lot of them are planning them as like an outside event, and it depends. There's so many like guidelines out there and metrics, and I think there are some specifically for that. We're just trying to use common sense and walk them through. Are we having, is it like a graduation? If it's in your football field and it's outside and that's where it's planned, and it's a ticketed event, you try not to have more than 20% or 25%, and that may be, 2 to 3 tickets each, depending on the class size, or maybe, 1, or it could be 6. It just depends on the class size and where they're having it. The same, haven't heard too much. There's a few trying to do some different type of proms, and which is great for the kids. So, but I think they're also trying to look at capacity size and limit it just to certain classes and things like that. So, but they can call us and we'll just try to walk them through. But I just implore common sense and try to use your best judgment of what they think.
You think a year ago, none of that stuff was happening. You couldn't do it. It was forbidden. Yeah, we had some that kind of went out there a little bit too far, I think. But the idea of being outside on a football field, certainly working with the health department to make sure it's going to be a safe event is really the direction you're seeing. And I just want to say from the schools, you and your staff have just been amazing. And the time that you've provided, they're just thankful. And it's really been a great collaboration to be able to get kids back in person and be able to do what we're doing.
Yeah,
You were responsible for that, so thank you so much.
The staff's great. They've been working real hard.
Very responsive to our litany of emails. We're always emailing you, so thank you for that. We really do appreciate it, because they're always looking, Soups are always looking for guidance, and you guys are a great help, so thank you.
You bet. Mike?
Currently, you made mention that with staffing of contact tracers and then also looking for volunteers to help at the inoculation clinics that we're having.
Yes, we do have a division of both. We have staff. I send health department staff to every clinic. We also have now gotten temporary employees for a vaccination clinic workers. Most of them right now are vaccinators, but that grant doesn't limit me to hiring just vaccinators, but that's the tricky part. If you don't have vaccinators, you can't do a clinic. But I can hire non-medical individuals to help. We do have volunteers as well that both vaccinate and work the clinic as non-medical. So, and some just want to remain volunteer, and that's awesome. I know we have done a couple of looks at the amount of money that the vaccinators have provided us, and it's astonishing. And I haven't done it lately, but just the time that they've put in volunteer dollar amounts is just fantastic. So
And that's non-compensated, is what you're saying.
we have volunteers that just come and donate their time on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And all of them did up into recently when we got a mass vaccination grant. They all volunteered their time. And with me having such a small staff and so limited on vaccinators, almost all of them were volunteer. Some of them then decided that they would jump onto our payroll and get some a dollar amount an hour for their time, and others wanted to remain volunteer. So,
And then with that said, is there a standard across the state of Illinois that, let's say Illinois Department of what they feel a person's time is worth if they would be involved with inoculations and or support services as contact tracers? Or is that set by the local agencies?
that's pretty much set by the local agency. So I try not to deviate too much from my actual salary schedule of what I'm paying my own employees. So based on their education or, vaccinators obviously are going to be your nurses or somebody else. And so I start them at the same dollar amount that my own nurses are getting.
So it becomes that respect of current employees, full-time,
Yeah.
temporary
I didn't have to
employees.
do that, I just did, and if I couldn't have got them on for that, I might have had to go a little bit higher with the temporary employees, but so far, that didn't happen, so.
So with Care Act money or however, and distribution of the
There's
funds,
no,
there is no actual limit.
no,
It's just, now, the question, is there anything that I could do to support as to providing for that extra human resource person for the health department to ease your burden as the director, to provide for that mechanism, to be able to provide extra advertising or marketing to get people to come in and help you, an employment type person? Because it doesn't seem like the money makes a difference, it's there.
You can just be, you just word of mouth, any of you
Okay,
that wanna just put it out there that we are looking, for people to help out, and we can put them on the payroll. And it actually works out much better because our vaccinators, we really only need, several times a week. And so our contact tracers, we need 60 hours a week, but we can only allow them to work 29. So
And
we
that's
actually
what-
need
yeah.
more of those to filter in.
and that's only the impact because of our current full-time, the disparity, we don't wanna pay part-time more than the full-time.
Well, what we're doing is we're hiring them as temporary employees, which means that they have an end date. On their letter of hire is an end date, because that's when the grant goes away. And we keep them under the 29 hours because in our definition of temporary employees, we don't offer them benefits. And so anything over that 29, we'd have to offer health insurance. And we did get something passed where if they did work over 1,000 hours cumulatively, that we would put them on IMRF if they were willing, and we would just pay the employer amount through the grant.
And that money would then be reimbursed by grant process
Mhm.
for the IMRF.
Correct.
Okay.
And through that grant, I probably could have hired them as regular full-time people.
And
It's
then
just at
actually
the time
give
I
them-
didn't know, and it seemed, prudent to say temporary employees because I had an end date for them.
And a particular number at the health department to call for if I get out and ask people to call
Yeah,
over
just
there
call the general
for
number,
support?
or you can find me, or,
Okay, thank you, Julie.
Okay, Dave?
Contract tracers, are they in contact with people or is it all on the phone?
it's all on the phone.
So
and
that
it's
is
actually-
I can.
Yeah, through a computer.
That'll help talk to people.
And we have a computer system that has, I don't know, those phones hooked up to it,
Yeah.
like, marketing.
You're not
And-
physically touching people.
Yeah, and you're doing everything via phone call
Perfect.
in either case investigation or the contacts, the
Thank
close
you.
contacts of that.
So your vaccinators today, are they non-clinical, people?
No, I think I'm not sure what you're asking, but they
Like,
are
are
clinical.
the people who are administering the vaccine, are CMAs or CNAs or?
No, through, the state of Illinois does have a definition, and even through the Emergency Act with COVID, of who can actually vaccinate. Now, we do have several dentists, and my hope was is to have a whole slew of dentists, but there is some training that dentists have to do, and they have shortened that to a 1 hour online, so hopefully that will encourage more to do that training and help out with the vaccination.
So they have some kind of training?
Yeah, and so there's certain, like, I think it's EMTs and dentistry and things have to do like a 1 hour training. Nurses do not, physicians do not.
All right, thanks. Anything else? Joanne? Good?
I got a question.
Mr. Lee?
Yeah. Hey, I want to make sure I understood that. Did I hear correctly? 21% of the LaSalle County residents have been vaccinated. Is that correct?
Fully vaccinated.
Fully
So that means-
vaccinated?
Yeah, we have probably 50, it could have been, I have the numbers here somewhere. I'm thinking it's around 50,000, 54,000, 55,000 individuals in LaSalle County have been vaccinated, but fully vaccinated is, probably less than half of that, because you have to wait
Okay.
that cycle, and it's just all getting going.
So my is that number the number that has gone through the county health department, or is that a number that is also people that have gone to Walgreens and CVS and wherever?
Yeah, LaSalle County Health Department, just us, we've done 15,478 individuals with 5,379 being fully vaccinated. So that's just our clinics, with including everybody, the hospital systems, the pharmacies. We have actually administered 57,942 vaccines. 22,716 have been fully vaccinated, which makes roughly around 21% of the population for LaSalle County.
Okay, thank you. I
think we
didn't
have
know
to-
where that number came from.
Yeah, we have to get to like 80% fully vaccinated to get to what we call like herd immunity. And then hopefully maybe some of these can come off and other things. So we'll just have to see where we're at then. That's what they promise anyway.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, thanks. Anyone else? Anybody? Thanks, Julie.
Thank you.
Good to see you.
Thank you, yes. Thanks for letting me go.
You sure?
Yeah.
You seem very sure.
Yeah.
Sorry, okay.
Do you want me to- Is it
Sure,
okay?
come on.
Come on, okay. I do have a handout I'll give you after I get done rambling on this morning. I'm gonna talk about legislation that's out there right now. The handout I'm gonna provide to everyone is actually from the Illinois State Board of Education. They have a board meeting actually this week. District Efficiency Commission. This seems to come up every year about consolidating school districts, reducing the number of school districts in Illinois. And that's out there again, and that is still alive. Another one is COVID related, and it would require public health metrics to be established, adherence to all CDC guidelines, and again, this is school related, provide rapid COVID-19 testing, and grant paid sick leave to staff, education staff. So that's one, that's House Bill 2789, that's still out there. There's an early childhood bill that would create a screening program that helps coordinate enrollment of preschool children into early childhood programs. There's a number of bills still alive regarding sexual abuse and sexual education that are out there, and you can see the specifics in the handout. Basically mandating specific topics for all school districts and things of that nature. One's kind of interesting, a Rural Education Advisory Council that would use the needs, challenges and opportunities faced by rural school districts, and we're considered rural school districts in our area, so that bill is alive also. So that committee is a potential to be established. And then there are several curricular and instructional mandates that advanced out of committee. One would require health educators to instruct on medical and legal ramifications of cannabis use, character education, media literacy, curriculum at both the elementary and high school levels focusing on the history of Asian Americans. Again, mandating comprehensive sex ed for all students, that's what I mentioned before. This one's interesting. Beginning in grade 6, students should be introduced to the importance of developing and applying a work ethic in a variety of contexts. I think that's a great bill out there. One's on e-cigarettes and vape devices as part of the comprehensive health education program. Another is regarding summer reading lists that must include books written by diverse authors. Let's see. Another would require high schools to include in its curriculum a unit of instruction on the process of naturalization by which a foreign citizen or foreign national becomes a U.S. citizen. And then the final curriculum-related one was teaching about the contributions made by Muslims and Muslims Americans to society. That would be in history classes would require those teachings. So again, these are just bills. They haven't passed yet, but the House and Senate committee deadlines are May 14th, with a third reading deadline of May 28th, but those dates could potentially change. And then both chambers will adjourn on May 31st. And then just a couple of initiatives that the Illinois State Board of Education pointed out. There's the bill still out there on timeout and restraint. You may have read about that or heard about that from last school year. So some changes again to timeout and restraint. Providing remote learning opportunities for students with the COVID and the remote learning and the remote instruction. There's a proposal now when students get suspended or expelled that they must be provided remote education, which certainly is a good thing. There's one on educator misconduct, forming a state education equity committee, and then several school code language cleanup items are on the last page there, those last bullet points that I won't read to you. But so it's been a really busy legislative season. There's initially thousands and thousands of bills that are introduced, but many of them just go away until they whittle down to what I'm talking about. And there still may be some that will whittle away, but those are kind of the key items that the State Board of Education wanted to point out, and then some of the key initiatives. So, questions? Again, you have the details in front of you. But, if you have any questions, you certainly can give us a call at any time, and we'd be happy to let you know. But again, these aren't laws yet, but they are bills that are still alive. Hi, thank you.
Question.
Oh, sure.
On the bills that you mentioned, do they have the numbers, the bill numbers on?
They are. Okay. They're included the House bill and the Senate bill numbers are on there, so if you want to look them up. Yeah.
Okay, great,
Yeah.
thank you.
You bet.
The consolidation bill continues to pop its head. There's been many studies on that and efficiency and what that would mean. So be curious what direction this one goes. I think it was similar last year. And the idea that a percentage of districts would be reduced, and our office will be part of that process. But we'll keep you posted with progress. Just seems like each year those things are sometimes put out there. Julie, again, I can't thank her enough for the work that she's doing with districts. And we give you a revised public school guidance document. And as I said, a couple things out here, but this is really the direction that districts, when they look in their planning, what can we do, what can we not do? They're following the IDPH guidelines and the ISB guidelines, and they're trying to do their programming in a safe way based on what the experts are telling us. When this document was put out there, some parts of the state, one of the pieces that I think was of note, this idea of 3 or 6 feet of distance with students and faculty. And I guess the understanding prior to this document, districts were doing their best to maintain a minimum of 3, but try to have at least 6. And this was very specific that no, you must have at least 3 and try for 6 feet. I think some parts of the state had some significant issues with that. In our region, districts have certainly worked to maintain as much space, and we didn't see that as really causing many issues. They've continued to follow the protocols of spacing and then mask, hand washing, those types of things. But the real big interesting one that Julie touched on was when we get to graduation and prom season, what is it we can do or what can't we do? And when we look at last year, it was you can't do any of this stuff. It was all forbidden. And now the guidance is if you work with your health department and you put in plans and procedures that maintain distancing and follow the guidelines, those things will be allowable and kids will have those opportunities. And I think you're seeing that with the sporting events that are happening right now. Like we were talking earlier, they're limiting how many people can come to the games so that there's more space, but districts have to be creative to broadcast the game or find ways to make it available so those that can't be there. And I think sometimes people like that broadcast. They can sit at home and be part of that without having to brave the elements. And so districts really have been responsive to try to meet everybody's needs while following the guidance. And, we're talking with Julie to try to do these things that, are part of the senior year, the junior year that people find is important, the graduation type ceremony. I think you're going to see a lot of that stuff outside, weather permitting, and kids will have those opportunities. So that's just kind of the guidance that they're utilizing in making these decisions. And I think one piece in there, it's, of anything else, you should be, academic programs should take priority, and then these other things afterwards. So, any questions on that or things that you're hearing in your communities?
Have the the guidance departments and the deans of education and along with the school board, have they adopted kind of that virtual reality thinking yet? As you just mentioned, there's no reason why they can't set up cameras to actually have these in-present extracurricular activities, and then broadcast them because of these doggone phones nowadays. You can be anywhere, anytime, based on what you have to dial in on Zoom or any of that stuff, YouTube. It's amazing. We started to adopt that thinking and that ideology.
I think you're seeing more and more
It's
of it.
more and more.
Becoming more familiar with the technology. I can see that as a means to be able to offer things that they normally wouldn't do. The board meeting, just like your board meetings.
Right, we're online now.
I think people are way more comfortable than they ever were before, and it's an ability to I think better serve your communities by making it, whether it's a sport or a public meeting or a student event, to be able to broadcast some of that stuff. So I think you're going to see more of it, and I think it's going to be something that's going to stick around, and it's safe to get back together.
And then financially, is there opportunities through these programs, care, stimulus money?
You're a good segue.
That the schools themselves got people that are proactive in applying for all of this stuff? Or does that come through our superintendent's office?
So we're working with the state board, and you look at the dollars, the ESSER II dollars amounted to over $2 billion for districts. And so for our region of 3 counties, we're looking over $16 million with the second round of funds. And those dollars are supposed to be used to engage students, to make things safer based on COVID. So when you're saying, how do we engage? Technology is certainly an expense they could use to do more of this stuff. They're looking at ventilation in buildings. And so you're gonna, I think, see some projects as they wanted fresher air, they didn't have an opportunity. You're gonna see some of that, but you're gonna see how do we catch the kids that this year didn't do what we were really wanting to do. So the after-school programs, maybe extended or jumpstart programs when you're looking at the beginning of the school year. But those dollars certainly allow it. Then you look at ESSER 3, the latest round of funding is over $5 billion throughout the state. And when we look at our area, that's probably over $32 million throughout the region. And again, with the caveat with that is 20% have to go towards learning loss and addressing it. Well, the rest can be spent in regards to preventing the spread of COVID, helping your programming. I hope that answers.
So just our region, 60 million?
You're gonna have
ROE,
You're gonna have-
our ROE, 60 million?
over $50 million.
Yep.
Yes.
Wow.
Huge fund.
That is
That is huge.
They'll have approximately 3 to 4 years to spend those dollars. And that I think is a concern. You want to have these, the before after school programs, doing more now to catch kids back up. And then, well, what do we do when the money's not there? And I think that's where they're being mindful. We want to do things to do right for our communities, but we have to be mindful of this money's just and I think the county board is talking the same way. It's, you have some dollars, and what can we do with the dollars today that we might not be able to do in the future? How do we manage that I guess, question?
So not only, if I may continue the debate, so not only provide for employment opportunities, for increasing the interaction, the bureaucracy, would it also include brick and mortar support?
It could.
Is that
If you're gonna build a wall, because it's gonna prevent the spread of COVID, it's allowable. So it could be brick and mortar.
Expansion of services within the school system itself, or
So potentially you need a
support
bigger
plus-
cafeteria, if it's to
Okay.
prevent the spread, that potentially could be approved. So you're gonna see, the districts, it's based on their title funding, and, the lowest amount that a district is gonna get, I think in ESSER 2 is about $50,000, but then the most that some of our districts are receiving is $2 million in that second round, and then double those dollars for the third round. So there's significant dollars they're gonna have.
all census driven.
Um,
The school district has got 500 kids in it, is it?
No, it's
No.
based more on their title population, so their low income populations.
Okay.
And is how the federal dollars were mandated, they are spread out throughout. Our office gets so the state board holds back 10% of those dollars, and then they allocate those dollars to different programs. We did not hit the lottery by any means. It seems like that's sometimes the running, I think, what we're up here talking about, but we get about $170 per student. Round 2 afforded us $3,500 from the same school, and round 3 will give us about $7,000. It's not significant money in our programming. So we will receive some money, but it's $10,000. We're not going to be knocking down walls. We'll be buying PP.
I think John has a question.
Yep.
Isn't there a precautionary measure sent out to make sure that these funds, when we get on the back end, do not produce, what do I want to say, responsibilities, liabilities farther on down the road? Say, for example, that once that's put in place by, say, December 31st, 2024, that come after that point, there are not added expenditures that are going to require increased tax levies for those districts.
I don't think it's that specific. I think what they have is the dollars must be spent within that time frame.
Mm-hmm.
And then if they have now created a position, those dollars are now gone. Once that money's gone, it's gonna turn to be, is it something the district wants to use, their property tax or state dollars to continue? And that's, I think when they're being mindful, we wanna do as much as possible, but yet when we start programs, if this is the window of time we have to fund it, well, what are we gonna do in year 4 or 5?
Yeah,
And that's what we
after those funds are gone.
We talk a lot about, we're trying to attack the problem and catch kids up, and certainly, to do those programs, the Jump Start, the, after school, that's certainly something that, let's put a lot of gas on the fire to fix that issue, and then when the money's not there, at least we've addressed it, hopefully clock gets back on where they should have been. You're gonna see districts spend those dollars, because of that, they're gonna say, well, there's a capital improvement project, we've been looking to put more ventilation in through this HVAC, and they'll potentially go that direction with some of those dollars.
Thank you.
Yep.
And these programs are just for general education. I guess pinpointing the fact is that we have a lot of private institutions, stereotype and say religious institutions. We don't have any groups of specialized, like the Latin School in Chicago.
Great question.
Private education can also participate in this?
There's a separate round of, it's called EANS funding, EANS. It's $84 million in that second round. I never heard regarding a third round. It was really curious, Mike. So because there were 900 plus entities that are recognized as these types of schools, they first had to go in and apply for a grant without putting a sum of money that they're applying for. Now that those all met the application window, the state board's working through the applications, and we'll go back and say, okay, here's the sum of money you are eligible for based on the type of population that you serve. So I know in working with 2 of our parochial schools, we don't have any answers, and we're trying, hopefully this week, I think it'll come together based on of the 900, how many did apply, and then how will they allocate the $84 million. But they're anxious because they have needs like any other school building. So, but there is some money that will help them do some things.
And our homeschoolers, are they similar category? Family, if you're homeschooling, you're on your own,
Excellent.
other than having to follow the guidelines in general education as a homeschooling parent.
We hope.
We hope. Okay.
Good. Yes, and we do our best. We do a lot of home visits with our truancy folks, and people choose different programs based on their their family needs and values, and we certainly support that. We just want to make sure that education programs are happening. So,
Joanne?
great question.
So, speaking kind of that, next year, are we leaning towards everybody back in school? Will they still be offering remote learning? What's the
That's a
plan
great
there?
question. So really, we've been under this since March last year. The idea you must offer remote and you must offer in person, it's up to the families to choose. And within the last month, now with this guidance, the must has really gone away. And so the push is for back to in-person learning.
Good.
And if you must be outside of the school setting, you really have to show that there's a valid reason through a doctor. So whether you have a family member or your own medical condition, districts now can require that or say, we're not offering it.
Okay, good.
So it has flipped from where we thought that would be something that would be around for quite some time. And so when we talk to districts, we really had more students coming and getting back in person and getting those types of programs than the remote. So that's a great question. Yeah, thank you.
Anything else? Mr. Walsh?
No, I just wanted to mention, in your advisory capacity to the schools and so forth, and also from the state board, are they, drawing the whole picture? And as the chairman was mentioning, the fact of the long range, I go back to revenue sharing times when the revenue sharing money came in. Many places used it for bricks and mortar, other places used it for programs. And then when the money dried up, those programs dried up. And it became very difficult to, digest that whole process, understand what I'm trying to say. And I just didn't know how specific they were in the process. Are they?
Mr. Arbitration?
No, it hasn't started yet. We're still in a committee meeting at the moment.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. You have the right room, it's just, we haven't finished our committee meeting.
I'm sorry to interrupt.
No, you're fine.
Excuse me, Mark, I think, is coming around.
Okay.
So we certainly are providing guidance so that the dollars are going to be spent where by law they're able to be spent. It's something we find each district is a little different in regards to, they may have already been doing some of these programs, and so they're able to say, we really have had bad windows, or, this ventilation is something we've been trying to get. Oh, yeah. And so our goal really is make sure that they're gonna do things correctly and max, the dollars that they have available to them to walk them through that process. And, so the current ESSER 2, they've been able to apply, and those dollars the grant should start being approved here shortly, and then ESSER 3 doesn't begin until July. I think those grants may become available. And that 20% committed to catching students up is certainly where we want to be involved in helping guide best practice with. There's we talk about with our truancy folks and their caseloads and all the work that they're out doing. There's a lot of work that happened to get us out of this past year plus that's not been the best for our students.
Are you and your staff going to be able to absorb that, or are you going to go out and have to, which I would certainly assume that you probably would, in order to help with the accountability aspect?
No, we've been working with the state board on being a part of that system and having our staff do some of the work there. And so it certainly has been a partnership, finalizing some of those details to do more. Especially with the private schools, Matt and I have been in 2 this year and doing the recognition type visit. We talked about that before. We care about all kids and however we can help anybody in our community. So we want to make sure they get their dollars less than what the public schools are going to get, but they need that money. So we're working for that.
Real quick. In-person learning. How are you and the teachers working together? Are they gonna get immune shots? How's the,
So
I understand what I'm asking. There's a lot of conflict I see on the news.
I think each district is different. The teachers were a priority to be able to be vaccinated. The teachers that chose to be vaccinated, we had, I believe, a very high percentage of our teachers throughout the region were vaccinated. I think districts have worked to be mindful if there's been health issues of any faculty members. Safety's been the first. I think there's been a lot of collaboration when I talk to district superintendents of how they plan and schedule any changes. So it's working with the community, the teachers, and sometimes they have a guiding committee on the whole COVID situation to make these decisions. So it's more of it's really been collaborative, but we've been, I know we spent a lot of Saturdays back when this thing first began, when nobody really knew and trying to help guide the superintendents. And we were tuning in regularly and working together to make sure that they knew what they could do, and then someone might be doing it better already. How can we incorporate that with the rest of the district? So I certainly can speak on behalf of our school. Our teachers have been nothing but fantastic. I look back to last year. We were looking at how can we change our schedule to make it safer for everyone, and the idea, we were doing remote learning, and then we had a spring break coming up. We said it made no sense. We just started remote learning. And the teacher said, we don't mind changing. We don't have plans. Let's work through our spring break. We'll continue that continuity because we just caught we got it going, and we're going to take a week. It made no sense. And so we just had discussions and communicated and worked together. It's certainly when you work together is what I always found, and you're up front, you get a lot further.
I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah, so that's been kind of the experience we're hearing throughout. So people are hopefully collaboration, and this is something we've never seen before, so let's work together and get through it. So.
One more? Okay.
One more, and that's it. With all the advent of all of the different things, the new normal, I'm going to call it, the respect of all the hard work that's being done in the superintendent's office, the staffing that we have we got to that point where the rubber band is being stretched? We may have to be looking at using some of the governmental funds and grant monies to add to the support for the education and the support of the school districts and the support of the children that are so dear to me, so that we can educate them with this extra money, as opposed to tripping it, not if we don't have the infrastructure, we don't have the bureaucracy, we may lose it. And that's going to impact future generations in their education. Is it something that you guys have been considering in the office?
Well, we've been running.
Well, that's what I'm saying, yeah, you're running.
We're short-staffed, and our people, we're fortunate, we just have great people, great employees that continue to rise up and give of themselves to do things because they know it's right. I can't tell you, well, we shared those memos as we were coming out of March and the work that they were doing to make sure kids had food, make sure kids had devices. Because they stepped up, but I tell you, we're tired, but we keep doing it because it's the right thing to do, and I think that charges us up each day. We keep giving out as much as we can, and hopefully this summer things will kind of slow down and we'll take a deep breath, but our goal right now is to be there to help the districts get through this.
I guess the concern that I have, burnout will create inefficiency. And please, if it gets to that point, come to me as a board member and I can maybe do some rallying to explain that a person can only produce so much and that we've got to be more open-minded to understand and then sit with the staff. As Ms. Caress has made mention, is that there's opportunities to provide for public health. It's just a matter of getting people on board to either pay them for the work or ask for more volunteer from the community. And we have that wonderful support for having trained employees or trained staff or trained people that we're more than happy to get paid for. And we also have a great volunteer effort.
I appreciate that.
So those marriages can be something that will really make us.
Here's a prime example. So our truancy folks that are, normally they have 350 students they're dealing with, they've got over 700 now. They put on a pause today because there were 2 tragedies in our communities where 2 students passed away. And that's where they're at to work with. So we've got these 700 kids that need help, but now we've got something that's even more pressing that we put a pause on because we need to be there to help families, kids get through this. So I appreciate what you're saying. I certainly will continue that discussion. We just, there's only so much you can do, and our people they're doing a lot.
And I'm going to be sappy because I've developed, I think, a good friendship and a relationship. I never knew you before I got into government. I do appreciate the fact that you and Matt and the staff that I've met down at the regional superintendent, very dedicated employees. We all have our flaws, but at the same time, you're here for the right reason, and I do appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. You can buy lunch today.
Kendra has a question.
I'm sorry, I apologize if you already hit on this or covered it. Is this just through the end of this school year, or is these guidelines, when's the?
These are currently in effect, and so will they have a new guidance document out potentially?
They're not in effect, is that what you said?
These are currently in effect.
Currently in
So
effect.
this is the current guidance that districts are under. And will they change? I'm guessing that we'll see something different in July. Will be, okay, based on this many people being vaccinated, maybe this is the new guidance. So they continually.
So it could look different.
It certainly, I expect it to look different, yes.
Do you have a plan for the recognition dinner?
You guys keep saying that. It's fantastic. So May 6th is our normal recognition banquet. We put 500 people in a room and we do some really cool celebration. We can't do that. It doesn't make sense from a safety perspective. On May 6th, I'll be sending out, we're gonna have a real neat video release that evening. And this will be the work of districts throughout the region, how they've stepped up and what they've done for our students in the time of COVID. And so that's really going to be cool to see. And our goal is we're looking to honor everybody that's stepping up. We have our foundation, Educate 35, is going to be sending out 100 gift cards to 35 random educators, telling them thank you for your work, one for each district. And then our retirees are in the process of signing letters for the plaque and thanking them for their service. So we're not in person, but I think it's gonna be special.
Okay, I was kind of wondering about that.
Yeah, so watch for the link and you can do that, it'll be through YouTube. You'll watch.
Did you have bills?
Yes, we had $48.07, and grounds of $1,138.
Motion to pay the bills? Dave, second. Joanne, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We'll pay the bills, okay. Anything else?
I'm not gonna ask the superintendent of schools another question, but I'm going to direct it to our assistant superintendent. Is there any way that we could do that virtual program on the 6th and have it part of an agenda item here to the full board? It wouldn't take that long, we could edit it, you know, to do something like that as a presentation, or is that?
Yeah, it's not completed yet, so we're not certain of the length of it, but we're gonna provide a link
A
where
link, okay,
anybody can watch it.
yeah, cause it would be,
It started out as a short film, but he's talking it's more of a movie.
I mean, it can be edited for those extraordinary educators that really deserve, you know,
But
and
it's
it shows.
just so
Oh,
many.
absolutely, we'll get that to you.
Okay, good.
Yep, sorry for that. Thank you.
I'm done with you.
Just something,
Thank
you know, like the following week is a full board meeting.
On the 2nd of May?
Yeah.
Okay, on that, and maybe do a quick clip of it.
Yeah.
Because we could, you know, it's so easy now with technology, we're becoming comfortable with it, with the screens. Boom, you
Well, that'd be
know,
great.
3 to 5 minutes of public comment,
Yeah.
boom.
5 minutes, and we could just pop it up there and just say, here's how you tune in, and we can't thank our educators enough.
Yeah, oh gosh.
I like it.
Wow.
Thanks a lot.
All right, thank you.
Okay.
Yep, thank you.
Motion to accept their report.
So moved.
Mike, second. Kendra, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Okay, school nurses.
Could go crazy.
She has billed for $515.36 and hand drawn for $553.20.
Motion to pay bills. Dave, second. Joanne, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Hi, Carol, thanks.
Hi. I don't have a whole lot, so my job doesn't change much. You have a quarterly, and then you have the February monthly and the March monthly, is what you guys are trying to do. February, March, we're still, and April even, we're still going into the schools, taking Dutch vision hearing screens that are state mandated. Have been working at some of those COVID clinics that the health department's providing at IVCC as well. And I've got to tell you, everybody is just commenting when I'm sitting there with them, because we have questions and things we have to ask them, so they're in our chair for a while, but they can't thank us enough. They're so happy to be getting the vaccine, and they can't believe how organized it all is, so the health department is really doing a great job with that, those vaccine clinics over there. Be able to start helping more and more, especially over the summer, since not in school for the summer. So also the only other thing that I had quite a bit of phone conversations with administrators starting probably beginning of February is what am I going to do with my staff and the kids during spring break when they come back. What do we do with them? And since the CDC changed their minds between February and April about 3 or 4 times, that all changed too. So they needed guidance on that. I try and help out as much as I can and try and field those questions that come in so that the health department doesn't have to deal with them, but there's just certain ones, like if we can do a graduation, if we can do a prom, that's not my area of expertise. They need to call the health department for that kind of stuff. But it's generalized questions I can answer on COVID still. So more and more schools are having full schools where, before they only had half the people coming in part of the day or whatever, but most of them are having all the kids come in now for a longer portion of the day. So we'll see how that goes. And the first sport started up, so we had some cases, but that's okay. Gotta get through it. Any questions for me? Like I said, my job doesn't change a whole lot. Okay, that's it. We're good.
Oh, Dave does.
Sorry. Immunization as a whole, do you track that? When you go to the schools?
Right, so I mean, I'm not the one that's giving them, but I do track the records, yeah, the immunization records, and I don't put them in a database or anything like that, if that's what you're saying, but we do review everybody's records to make sure that they're up to date on the vaccines. And if they have a religious exemption, that's all correct.
Is this based on COVID being added to it yet?
One more time?
Is the COVID immunization being added to this immune?
No, it's not, well, because 16 and under can't get it, so, at this point, yeah, no, if you're, yeah, you gotta be 16 and above to get it. So right now, it's not a mandatory vaccine, so it wouldn't be on, the immunization form.
Okay, thanks.
Anything else? Motion to accept Carol's report, Joanne, second, Kendra, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion passes. Thank you, Carol.
Thank you.
Motion to adjourn. Joanne,